I was born in Clarksville, Tennessee. My parents were school teachers, and when I was 6 months old, we moved from Clarksville, Tennessee area to Clovis, New Mexico, because teacher salaries in New Mexico at that time were one of the highest in the nation. At the time that my dad was teaching history in Tennessee and also coaching boys and girls basketball, he was making $1,800 a year. When he came to New Mexico, his salary went up to $3,300 a year. My dad said he'd always heard about the Rio Grande River and how great it was and the mighty Rio Grande. And first time he went to Albuquerque and saw the Rio Grande, he was a little disappointed that it didn't match up to the Mississippi or Tennessee or some of the rivers he was used to. They also learned a little different way of giving directions. In Clovis, we pretty much told everybody to either go to or from the grain elevators, where Tennessee, it was either to or from the mountains. I lived 13 houses from the elementary school, so we had a lot of playgrounds, all the places to go play, very close, a lot of good friends in the neighborhood. Because of it being a small town and small schools, you pretty much knew everybody from elementary school all the way through high school. I played quarterback. I was 5'9" and weighed 170 pounds. So we didn't stay in the pocket that much because I couldn't see over the line. So we actually did a lot of motion passes, a lot of rollout passes, and I always felt that one of the things that drove me as far as football was fear, and so I wanted to get out of the way as quick as possible. Our record was always good, either 9-2, 8-3. We had good football teams then, and that was actually part of the reason I ended up at New Mexico State, is I came to New Mexico State on a football scholarship. When I was in high school, I was needing to have one more class to fill my schedule, and a friend of mine contacted me and said that we ought to take bookkeeping. And I told him I really wasn't interested in that, and he said, well, I think we should. He said the class requires math, and we're both pretty good at math, and there's also 26 girls in the class and no boys. So we took the bookkeeping class for that reason, but I found I really enjoyed it. The teacher I had in high school encouraged me to go into accounting. And so I actually entered school with the idea of going into accounting and have stayed with it. Probably the professor that had the most impact was Lionel Haight. Professor Haight taught at New Mexico State from 1927 until 1972. I was fortunate to have him. His last year that he was teaching was when I graduated. And he was also my advisor. And he was an excellent advisor. He sat down, helped you pick the right classes, when to take them, and he would talk to you about what you were going to be taking the next semester and the next semester so that you could be planning for that. He was just an excellent teacher, very hard, very demanding, but he was also very good to the students from the standpoint that when students were graduating, he helped everybody get a job. When I first got out of school, I worked for companies called Neff & Company. They were a regional accounting firm. And then 3 of us ended up purchasing the Las Cruces interest of that firm, and the firm became Kriegel & Company, and I worked there until 1984. Then from 1984 to 1987, I went to work for one of my clients for a 3-year period of time, and then started the firm I'm with now, Beasley, Mitchell & Company, started in 1987. At that time, we had one client, and our client was Mary Mathers. Mary is Laura Conniff's mother. She was my very first client that I ever had and continued to be a client up until her passing. But one of the greatest memories was that she had a tax return that was due on November 15th. She held that return until November 11th, brought that return in so I would have some work to do that morning. After I finished school, I was working on the 10th floor of the First National Bank Tower building here in Las Cruces, and my wife was working down the hall at Prudential Insurance, and we actually met at the water cooler. And so I made sure that I made plenty of trips. She was a receptionist, secretary at the Prudential office, and her desk was right at the front, so I made plenty of visits there. We were married in 1973. We have 2 sons, Brad, who is a CPA and has been working with us now in the office for about 7 years. Prior to that time, he worked in the entertainment industry, worked for Harrah's Entertainment in Las Vegas as an internal auditor, worked for them for several years before coming out here. Our younger son, David, after he finished college, went into the Air Force Band for 4 years. After he finished in the Air Force Band, he went to law school and then worked for a law firm in Omaha for 3 years and their tax department. And then he actually joined us here in September of this past year. So we're fortunate to have both sons, all of our family here local. We have 3 grandchildren, all sons, our grandsons. We have Zachary, who is David's son. He's 5 years old. And then Brad has 2 boys, Bo and Lucas. Bo is 4, and Lucas is 1.5 years. They enjoy going ATVing with me and doing a lot of activities, so it's been great to have them here. I have one brother, Jeff. He's 5 years younger than me. Jeff is a engineering technology department head at New Mexico State. He came to New Mexico State right after I did and then stayed on, got his PhD, and has been with the university for 36 years now, I believe. Education, and specifically New Mexico State, has been very important to our family for lots of different reasons. As I mentioned before, my brother and I both graduated from here. We feel that we're able to do the kind of work that we do because of what we learned at New Mexico State. But for my business specifically, New Mexico State has been a great place for us to recruit. Roughly 90% of our staff are New Mexico State graduates. They have a very good, broad knowledge that is very important to the kind of person that we're looking for in our business. And it has been a great partnership with us and the New Mexico State Accounting Department. One of the things that I was told when I was going to school, and I didn't really quite understand it or accept it, was to get as broad an education as you possibly can. I wanted to do accounting, I wanted to get my business classes, and didn't really see the value in some of the other things that I did. But I do see now how important some of the technical writing, some of the things that we had to do, I'm glad we did it. A lot of the speech classes, the communication classes that we had to take have really enhanced us in our own field here. Many of the things I think that I've been real pleased with as far as things we've been involved in involved the university. I've served as alumni president, have been on the foundation board, was president of the NMSU Foundation. I have been involved in a lot of different activities, the Aggie Sports Association. Our firm has been involved in doing some raising of funds with the Lionel Haight Scholarship Fund, and that's been one of our things we've been involved in recently. We feel that's real important to try to enhance, if we can, any things that professors need and students need in the accounting department. We just know how important it is. We know those funds are used wisely, and we know that it will benefit the students coming forward.